Welcome to Cooking from the Cave. I'm Chef Pete Truziak, and today we're going to be doing a sushi episode. I'm going to show you 3 different rolls: spicy tuna, vegetarian Maki roll, and Philadelphia roll. So let's get started. First roll we're going to do is the vegetable Maki roll. This is the one where the seaweed is going to be on the outside. A few words about seaweed. You're looking for the nori sheets. You want to make sure when you're doing the sushi, the rough side, think of R for rough, equals rice. So we're going to make sure that smooth side is down. We also want to have a bowl of salt water nearby. Not too salty, but just enough. And we're going to want to keep our hands moist throughout this entire process. What I'll do is I'll dip a silicone brush in here, and I'm just going to lightly brush my seaweed. And I might go in between calling it seaweed and nori, but either word is the same thing. So just keep that in mind while you're watching this. And just keep those fingers wet. We're going to grab the sushi. And the sushi should feel like we're making almost a snowball, so it's going to be sticky. And we're going to lay this out. Keep in mind, your hands are going to go in and out of that water constantly throughout this process. We're going to lay this down flat. Any excess moisture from your fingers that goes beyond the rice itself is going to just enhance and make rolling the sushi that much easier. I'm going to do probably about 2/3 of this nori roll, seaweed, and I'm going to cover it with the rice. So I'm only going to go about 2/3 up. Doesn't have to be perfect. But get that side closest to you filled and work your way up. Wash my hands in that water. And then from here, we're going to lay a thin layer of carrots. Then we're going to do a layer of cucumbers. And I'm going to try and keep this nice and tight so that when we look at it, it's going to have that nice, beautiful eye of the vegetables on the inside. The next is the avocado. I think the easiest thing with the avocados is to use that spoon trick that we show in a couple of our episodes, maybe when we're making the guacamole and stuff. But I'm going to use a knife as well. I'm going to lay the avocado out. And I'm looking for thinner pieces. So this one's a little too thick, so let's cut that guy down in half. And from here, it's really whatever else you want to put in that vegetable roll. You know, I've seen people put peppers in there as well, some red onions. I'm going to put some pickled ginger that I've pickled using some vinegar, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of water. It's going to give a nice sweet enhancement to this roll. But at this point, let's roll this guy up. Two ways of doing this. You can do it free form, or you can use a mat. I prefer to use the sushi mat, but I will show you both ways in case you don't have one of these. And I'll show you how to use this later on with doing some of our fish or our sashimi ones. What we're going to do is we're going to get those fingers nice and wet, and we're going to pull this roll towards us. Now this again is the one without the mat. If you want to try making sushi, maybe you don't want to go through all the hassle of locating one of these, although they're readily available. And we're just going to keep pulling that nori or seaweed towards us, giving us a nice tight roll. We're just going to keep pulling it, keep rolling it, keep pulling it. And then what I do at the end is I'll just lay it out flat. I don't even know what it looks like. Oh, it looks beautiful. So that's what we're looking at for our roll. Now, before I cut this, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator because I'm going to make some more seafood sushi or sashimi sushi, and then we'll cut it all at the same time. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is the Philadelphia roll. This is going to have cream cheese, salmon, and but we're going to roll it so it's on the outside, so the rice is going to be outside. The first thing we're going to do again, start with our nori, and I'm going to do this one on the mat, the sushi rolling mat. I'm going to get my hands nice and wet in that water. And we're going to press this down, this rice down, over the entire sheet of nori. Nori is covered in rice. We're going to flip it over. Again, get those fingers nice and wet. And I'm going to show you a trick with doing the cream cheese here. I have one already rolled out, but the way I do this is after I slice my brick of cream cheese into a wedge, I'm going to sit there almost like it's Play-Doh, and I'm just going to roll it in my hands so I can get it almost the entire length. This is actually a little bit too thin, but once it's going to be the length of my nori. Push it to the front. We're then going to load up our cucumbers, and we can begin to slice our salmon for this. Again, with the sushi, it's all about the freshness. So I'm going to go into my refrigerator, grab my piece of salmon. When I order it from the butcher or the fishmonger or your seafood purveyor, ask for sushi grade or sashimi grade fish. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to cut. You're also going to want to make sure that you're going to get as much fat in this as possible, believe it or not. So we're going to cut this on the bias, so it's going to be at an angle towards our board. I'm right-handed, so I actually have to flip the whole thing over so I can get a good angle here. And we want to cut it into nice, thin pieces. Again, as much fat as you possibly can. And if you can, find a sushi knife or a sashimi knife, just make sure your knife is as sharp as possible so you can get those nice, very thin slices of salmon. Now, I've done this a few times before, so I might be doing this a little faster than you can at home, but just take your time, make sure you get nice, even, thin slices. That's going to go on there, and now we can begin to roll it. Start at one end, work our way over. I always start without the mat, and I'm going to make a nice tight seal there. Then I'm going to bring the mat over, and with the mat, I'm going to use the palm or the fat side of my hand here, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to hold on to the mat with my left hand, and I'm going to push everything toward me. So I'm moving this hand towards my belly as I'm holding this mat in place. Looks good so far. Roll it again. Again, grab that mat with my left hand. Pull that sushi towards me. Again, good to go. And we're going to continue to do this. I cheat a little bit and I'll move that sushi up a little bit closer to me so I can get a better grip on it. And we're going to roll it a little bit further. And every time we do that, we're going to pull the mat towards our belly. What that'll leave us with is a nice rice-covered roll. Again, I'm pulling it nice and hard, left hand away. And there you go. Now the spicy tuna roll, my favorite, because I love heat in my food. We're going to do this one a little bit different. It's still going to be an inside-out roll, so your rice is going to be on the outside. Yes, it's going to have some heat to it, but I'm going to do a nice big thick roll so I can show you the difference between that Philadelphia roll and then the spicy tuna, so you can kind of decide, hey, how do I want to make these rolls? I'm going to show you 3 different ways today, from that vegetarian all the way to this one. We're going to start it off just like we did with that Philadelphia roll. So the rice is going to be on the rough side. So I'm going to start with wetting my hands and then layering on the rice. Alright, so for this spicy tuna roll, we're going to go thicker on the rice, and we're going to leave the top third open. So that means I'm not going to cover with any rice. Kind of going back to that vegetarian roll we did. Same concept, but we're going to flip it over. Now we're going to go ahead and fill the inside with what our spicy tuna filling is going to be. And we're going to start off with some Japanese mayonnaise. Japanese mayonnaise is just typical mayonnaise with a little bit of sugar mixed in. I'm going to add a little bit of prepared spicy mustard to this mixture in the bowl. And then some oil, some hot chili oil. Probably about a half a teaspoon. We're going to mix all that up, but we first have to get our tuna chopped up. Just to show you what our spicy mayo looks like. And I also added sriracha sauce to this. I added about a teaspoon of it, so it's nice and spicy. If you don't like it that hot, maybe don't make this roll, but this is definitely the way to go. Mincing up the tuna. You're going to buy sashimi grade tuna. It's going to run you probably right around $30 a pound. Don't freak out about that. Know that this is the best that you can get. Some people prefer the bloodline, which is this red here. Gives it a little bit more of an iron flavor. I personally do not, so I'm going to cut around that, or I'm going to cut from the other side. Don't handle your fish too much, but just cut it again into the same concept that I showed you with that salmon. We want the little white lines in there. That's the fat. And this is going to be a minced roll, so I'm going to go ahead and chop this up. And I'm going to try and cut it, believe it or not, as few times as possible. So after cutting it in one direction, come back, cut it in the next, and yeah, it's going to fall apart on you, but that's why we're mincing it. And we're going to do this till we get to a fine chop. Alright, so let's add our chopped tuna to the spicy mayo mix. And we're going to be making a lot of rolls tonight, so I'll get my fish back in the refrigerator. Our next step is to mince up the scallions, or green onions. And we're going to go really, really thin on this and really, really fine. These guys are going to get tossed in with the tuna as well. Stir this up. Rolling the spicy tuna roll, I just want to point out, make sure that you start with that space where that we didn't put any rice. Don't fill there, fill on top of it. So I'm going to go right above that line. I don't even want to put this in the sushi roll, I just want to eat it right out of the bowl. We're going to put this, roll it over. Almost like we're tucking it in. And now we can start to roll our sushi. Remember that rice is going to be really sticky, so we want to move fast with this. Don't give it a lot of pressure. We don't want the filling to ooze out. A little bit is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about that. From there, give it one more nice tight finish. And we'll put this guy right in the refrigerator, and I'll show you a little bit how to cut it. And now I'm going to show you how to properly slice the sushi. For the ones that have the nori on the outside, you may want to do something on the bias. Get yourself a slicing knife or a carving knife, if you will. And I'm going to cut these on the bias. So what they'll do is they'll present themselves beautifully on the plate. You get a little bit of the carrots, some of the avocado, some of the cucumber in there. And depending on how many guests you have, or how you're serving this, if this is going to be for the entire dinner, or is this just an appetizer, you may want to cut maybe figure 4 to 6 pieces of sushi per person. And I'm going to show you a different way now to cut these as well. So I did one on the bias, all right, and then we're going to do a double one or a 1.5, so it's has beautiful presentation on the plate for you, like so. Also on this platter of sushi, I got my Philadelphia roll, my spicy tuna roll. I got some homemade wasabi use the wasabi powder. Make sure when you're shopping for wasabi, you're looking for the pure wasabi powder. Otherwise, a lot of times people will just throw horseradish in there and they'll dye it green so it looks like it's wasabi. Make your own if possible. Also, our pickled ginger is on there. Some vegetables. Next roll I'm going to cut is the spicy tuna. Make sure you cut the one with the nori on the outside first. It makes it for an easier cut later on. But also the most important thing is, regardless of how you want to cut it or what you're cutting, make sure you have a very sharp knife. That's why I like to use the flexible slicer or carving knife. Again, actually for this one, you can do it one of two ways. You can go straight down, you can do it on the bias. And I like to let the knife do the work for me. So I'm going to start it. Make sure I hear that it gets down to that nori. And then from there I'm going to push the knife forward, drag the knife back. And I have these beautiful, I'm putting them with the wrong rolls. I'm going to have these beautiful spicy tuna rolls all set for us and our dinner. Our 3 rolls are done. Now what do we drink with this? A coworker of mine suggested, hey, skip the sake, although that would be great. Go with this beer. It's a Sophie from a local brewery at Goose Island in Chicago here. He said it would go perfect with this. So I'm going to dig into the beer, dig into the sushi. I can't wait. Thanks for joining us from Cooking from the Cave. I'm Chef Pete Trusiak. We'll see you real soon.